Good evening. I want to call to order the August meeting of the Rutherford County Public Safety Committee. It's good to have each and every one of you here this evening. Glad you were able to attend. And we'll begin with the approval of the minutes. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed and read the minutes at the last meeting and found them to be true and correct and move for their acceptance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? They are approved. First thing on the agenda is probation report. Good evening.
All right, so for my July report, and so far this fiscal year, the total expenditures for the month was $73,716.85. The total revenue collected by the clerk's office with circuit and general sessions combined totaled $5,732.63. For a combined revenue in the amount of $14,919.63. With the deduction of the expenditures for the month, left $58,797.22. So far this fiscal year, $5,875.95 was turned over to the clerk's office to be collected on payment agreements. And the total amount so far this fiscal year of those that failed to enter a payment agreement with their probation fees equaled $9,286. And that would be my report for the month.
Any questions on the report? Motion made to approve. Commissioner P. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Gurley. Any discussion on the report? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Report approved.
Okay. And the second sheet that I have one other thing. This is the proposed new report that I would like to present to be a reflection of our department every month. While the report that I normally present is strictly financials, I feel like that's not a true reflection of what the probation department does. So this new report would actually include a snapshot of the financials on it, but in addition to that, it would also include the class participation, the active cases, those that were closed out, any outreach programs. So that is an example of what the template would look like. And I feel like it's important for this committee to understand exactly what probation does aside from the financial aspect of it. While that's important, there's still a lot of other things that the probation department does that are very important, and I feel like I would be able to present those to the committee.
Any questions? I think we're just receiving that as...
Okay? Okay.
Okay. Appreciate it. I think that's a great idea. I think it's something that we can use to understand what you're doing there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Correctional Work Center report. Good evening.
Included in the report's going to be our minutes from our Work Center board meeting. Next will be the work release program, which is going pretty well. Those are our numbers there. Our yearly activity report, our population staying about the same. It's probably going to dip a little bit with COVID on the uptick again, because we'll be doing several new isolation procedures for everyone that comes in. Our monthly worker report looks like a total combined savings of $67,520 for this past month. On the work sanctions portion for the month of July 2021, total trash collected on county, state, and interstates are as follows. County roads, county trash, that'd be 4,780 pounds collected. And then on the state routes, including our interstates, 843 bags collected off of 24 and 840. Like I said, COVID is back on the uptick. We have 4 positives in the facility right now, and 4 inmates and then 4 staff members. And for the most part, we've been able to trace those and isolate them to one area and in one shift. So as painful as it is that most of those people are off of one particular shift, at least we'll be able to isolate it, and hopefully that we'll get that back under control like we have in the past. And one thing that we are finding is that, like the experts have said, the Delta variant is showing symptoms within the first 3 days. We've seen that in both the cases of the inmates and our staff members. So hopefully we can keep them healthy and get everybody back to work within a couple weeks. And that is my report.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve. Have a second? Have the second. Mr. Gurley makes the motion, second Commissioner Phillips. Do we have any questions or discussion?
Trail
Mr. Pete?
cameras, have we got any up and about?
We do. We went to one of our biggest dump sites and put them up, and we left them there for several days. No one showed up and dumped at that popular site, so we moved them to another one, and we're waiting on the information that's going to come from that. I don't know if these professional litterers have an algorithm or how they figure out what days to dump out there, but eventually we'll figure it out and catch them. But yeah, they seem to be, they work. It really just depends on what the angle is, and we're kind of learning on that too. And we've got Lieutenant Peralta, we have found that can climb a tree really well, and he just shimmies right up that thing and puts them up there. So we'll know something probably by next probably couple weeks.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At Public Works the other night, there was talk, and the committee gave direction to me to buy some cameras for you and to find the money wherever I can find it. I'm just going to take it, authorize it out of my budget. If you'll go ahead and buy the cameras and send it to me, and I'll authorize that.
Great, thank you.
Take it out of my budget. So, and I think, Chairman, you had identified the better cameras to get, which are the night vision, whatever type of cameras.
There's several different kinds
and
out there.
those ones that you donated, Chairman, I mean, those are pretty good. I mean,
So why don't you go get 4 of those and put them up in strategic places so we can find out who's illegally dumping, and just send it to my office, and we'll get it taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we have the motion, we have a second. All those in favor of approving the report, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, report is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I believe we're ready for a juvenile detention report.
Good evening. I have a minor change on our yearly activity report. It's good news, just that Coffee County and Sumner County checks both came in today, so that our year-to-date billed and received is even. Beyond that, it's the usual report that you're accustomed to seeing, and I will happily answer any questions. I will say that we were able to, for now anyway, get our Pet Partners program, volunteers coming back in again. Kids love that. I don't know how long that's going to be able to continue if, like Superintendent Cope said, the COVID increases much more. But for now, they're coming, and it's a good thing. But beyond that, I will answer any questions that you've got.
Have questions? Got a quiet group here tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the report? Motion approved by Commissioner Gammon. Have a second? second, Commissioner Phillips. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Public Safety Director. Good evening, sir.
Chairman, Commissioners. Before you is the emergency management report. If you'll note that we responded to a small plane crash on DeJarnett Lane earlier in the month. And also, one other highlight was a suspicious package over at Public Health, which was low-key, and we were able to evacuate the building and actually develop some new plans for the public health building after that incident as far as evacuation spots. We also participate in what's called a statewide Vigilant Guard. Our personnel from Rutherford County, Smyrna, Laverne, Murfreesboro, hazmat teams came together to respond to Radnor Yard. This was a statewide, like I said, there was different exercises that occurred over 2 days, or during the week, basically, in East, Middle, and West Tennessee. So we learned a lot, and we participated in that. Some of the things that are going on in our communications center is that we received 7,602 calls. 2,186 of them were 911, which resulted in 3,915 calls for service for fire and EMS. Kind of give you a bird's eye view of what goes on there in our communication center. They are fully staffed, and we're receiving applications pretty often. We had a part-time application pool that closed here recently, and we've had several applicants. They're starting a new shift bid, which the employee will be able to pick the bid, or basically the schedule that would be best for them and their family, and that is done by seniority. We've also had, actually, St. Thomas Rutherford has had some of their new, of course they're going to a level 2 trauma center, which that puts a new perspective in how they do business. And so they're going to put trauma dispatchers within the facility to initiate any trauma alerts and get the staff into the ER and the doctors on calls, X-ray, any respiratory, things like that. So they've been shadowing our communications personnel how to do that. And then finally, last but not least, we've had a committee put together that all the stakeholders, and we're working on their standard operating procedures within that facility. Several projects that we've been working on. One of the things is that we've been working on in talks with Bedford County and Coffee County concerning the generator purchase on Lynch Hill for our towers. I'm glad to announce that I received an email from the sheriff of Coffee County, which happens to be a good friend of mine, Chad Parton. He stated that they are willing, they've had a meeting, they voted to participate in purchasing this generator, and I'm waiting on Bedford County. The specs have been completed. We're hoping to turn them into Ms. Brink here soon to put that generator out to bid. We received 2009 partial check of 2009 Homeland Security of $158,911, and we're hoping to get the remaining of that money here soon, which is the total was $201,000. And I believe that's my report, and I'll entertain any questions.
Questions? Director, one thing I noticed you did highlight in your report right there, you didn't say this, but I noticed it was in yellow, and here you're fully staffed at dispatch. And I think that's something that, that's good to report right there, that all those positions, and you still have applicants that are there, I see.
And that is correct, and they have, I adopted that full staff, just to be honest with you. They have done a very good job in conjunction with the EMS director and the fire chief. And I was able to adopt a really good thing. So kudos to those directors and working together and making those things happen.
Deal. Mr. Gammon?
We worked them to the bone. We worked them to the bone, but daycare class has COVID. My concern is, you know, we put that out, I don't know how many people, we say, how?
So what you're referring to, we brought in dignitaries, public safety committee, officials that are in the audience to collectively receive a briefing and also any suggestions that may be brought up concerning COVID-19. We've increased our numbers drastically. As it hasn't affected our nursing homes as much as it has our children this time. Last year this time we were in the nursing homes. Now we're with the younger generations. And it's affecting anything from a small child to the young adults. It's a very serious problem. I will say that, you know, I don't think that the schools can just dismiss whenever they want to, because it will be counted against them. They're between a rock and a hard place. I can tell you that I'm personally affected. I have a daughter that's a school teacher and a wife that's a school teacher, and I hear stories every day of how many they've let go as far as being exposed and the number that they have that are tested positive. And until we have some resolution from our parents and trying to send our kids to school with masks if they want to, and then we also have, as a society, understand that we need those masks and need to be vaccinated. I'm at a point, you know, we can speak vaccinations all day long, but until somebody is willing to take that vaccination, I'm not the one to tell them to do it. That's their own thoughts and they know how to protect themselves. Vaccines, masks, social distancing, those kind of things. Unfortunately, with these schools, is that they're trying to get an education and then they get sent home because they've been exposed. They're doing all we can, and we're strained. Our healthcare system is strained to no end. These nurses are battling it every day. Our employment, we're battling it every day. We're trying to keep our employees safe as possible. And our numbers continue to go up. I wish I could wave a magic wand and make this all go away, but it's here to stay for a while.
I think all of us have.
Commissioner Gammon, use your mic, please.
I've been told that.
The television audience wants to hear you.
I appreciate it. I know a lot of people they got a choice, but I do know from talking to people and the presentations we've had, but I have a daughter-in-law nurse practitioner at Vanderbilt, and majority of the beds they had that are filled were people that did not take the shot. Did not. Same thing here. It's the same thing. And you're all afraid to propose, get the shot. I mean, you have your own reasons for whatever, religious or whatever, that's fine, whatever. And I know the children, I think, if I remember correctly, you can't get shot unless you're 12.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I don't know what the answer is. And I also have a daughter-in-law that's a teacher here in the county, Central Magnet. And she's got 4 kids. 3 are in school. They wear their mask every day, faithfully. And then we have a granddaughter that's in the daycare situation. And other than her rubbing peanut butter all over her hair, and stuff, I mean, they put a mask on her also. But I just think we really, whoever's listening, whoever's out there, we really need to say, be careful. Wash your hands, all this. I mean, just washing your hands is a biggie, because we touch ourselves so many thousand times a day, about our face. So I don't mean to ramble on, but it's become a greater concern to me, because now, since we had that meeting, it made me open my eyes brighter, and then I hear about all these children now that didn't get it before.
And we wanted to give you guys a bird's eye view of what's going on and what we're faced with on a day-to-day basis. These guys that are sitting out here, what they have to face. These guys have been wearing masks for 1.5 years, trying to protect themselves. Then they get exposed, then they have to be off. You got to remember, federal regulation says we dropped FLMA to protect our employees. So we're battling with that. But yet, we deduct it from their sick time. We didn't have that choice. That was the federal government that gave that to our Family Medical Leave Act. Our teachers are doing the same thing. Our nurses are doing the same thing. And so it is a struggle. And if I say anything today, we know how to protect ourselves. Mask, vaccinations, social distancing, sanitizing, things like that. We know how to protect ourselves. We know more than we ever have known before. And we just have to encourage that to our loved ones and to our friends. I had a conversation with 2 firemen since last week. And we just, today, he texted me and said he's going to go get vaccinated. So we are making some headway, and some people that decided that they didn't want it, and you know what, rightly so. That's their body, and I get it. But we, by friendly gestures, things like that. And the thing about it is not that we are trying to push vaccines. We just love the people that we're trying to protect. There's nothing malicious about it. That one person, I love him like a brother. I respect and value his opinion. He didn't want to be vaccinated at that point in time, so be it. And we do this out of love, not out of haste. Not out of forcing somebody. If Mr. Gurley here doesn't want a vaccination, I can't force him to do that. I have 2 daughters that are one's a school teacher and the other one's 19 and she works at a different place. She works at a hotel. If I can't force my daughters to do it, how am I going to force an employee to do it? And I think that's the debate. They have some good reasons, and I won't bring them up, but they make some pretty valid remarks concerning those vaccinations, and I get it. But as we love one another, encourage one another, if If I had a magic wand, I'd make it go away. We deal with this. Everybody in this audience here deals with it on a day-to-day basis, and it's not going away. We're going to have to find a way to live our lives around it and beat this thing. But I can't go out there and force somebody to stick a needle in their arm. And that's my standpoint. But as we go, think about the law enforcement, the paramedics, the firemen, the healthcare workers, our school teachers, our administration that works for the county. They're in it every day and have been for the last year and a half. We support y'all. As far as y'all's employment, we support you 150%, and they've done a fantastic job. We'll continue to do this. We're still going to make plans and continue this process. But I'm sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. But that's where we're at. Podium. So.
Other questions on the report?
Well, he made the mistake.
Mr. P?
He made the mistake of bringing up COVID and vaccinations. And one thing I want to point out, the meeting that he was referring to, we had several people from the different hospitals in our area. And Stonecrest and Smyrna, just to give you an example, they reported they have 16 ICU beds. When he reported to us, I guess it was last Monday, they had 13 of those beds with COVID patients in them that were all unvaccinated. We didn't get a report from Rutherford St. Thomas. However, my wife, who has a compromised immune system, a cancer patient, needed a transfusion. And she was told she couldn't go directly to the hospital because they got their own diversion. Now, she could have went to the emergency room where everybody that's probably got COVID is going in to get tested and go down there and mingle with them for 5 or 6 hours or 7 or 8 hours. And it's usually about that long before you can get a room out there. And what I'm trying to say is our hospitals are full. And a lot of it's caused by people that are not getting these vaccines. Now, yes, there are valid reasons not to get vaccines. Some people are allergic to some of the things in them. Some people have a moral aversion to them. Some people have, medical reasons why they cannot take them, and I understand that. And I think, yes, you need to exercise your rights there, but what you're doing is you folks are filling up the hospitals so that if my kid's in a wreck and needs a bed, it's not going to be available. If you get struck down by lightning or whatever happens to you, we need to think, or we'd like to think, that there's going to be room available for us at these hospitals, and yet, from the reports we were getting the other day, they're very crowded. We can do something about that if, like you said, and, that's, to me, is showing respect and love for our fellow neighbors by doing this. If you can get this vaccination, please do. If you're worried about it, talk to your doctor. Talk to your friends that have had it. And yes, people have reactions to them. I've had both shots of Pfizer. Didn't bother me either shot. The second shot, my arm was a little bit sore, about like getting a tetanus shot for a few hours. But other people, have gotten sick. I've had some friends that have told me they had the shots, Moderna for one, and second shot, they were laid in the bed 3 days with a fever. Felt bad. So yes, some people do have a reaction to it, but we need to, as Chris said, this is the thing about loving your neighbor. To me, let's take care of each other. And, if you can get this vaccination, please do. If you're worried about it and why you shouldn't get it, please talk to your doctors. We got a note in our box from Dr. Calloway. And these people that are trying to take care of us are stretched to the limit. And it's frustrating to them when people are not getting vaccinated and there's something there that can help you. Why would you not?
So we're blessed for our local hospitals. They've done a great job getting people in and out. However, if this trend continues, we may not be so lucky. We still run car wrecks, we still run stabbings, we still run gunshots. And unfortunately, we had a disaster in Humphreys County. And I'm not so sure where all those people went, if there were any injuries. We know that there were deaths. Speaking of that, our Kerry Clark leaves in the morning to assist in logistics on an IST team to go assist Humphreys County with their troubles down there. Keep those guys in your prayer. We'll continue to keep you guys updated through email concerning those Humphreys County and Hickman and Dixon, and keep those guys in your prayers. Any other questions?
Okay. Other questions on the report? Not, do I have a motion to approve the report? Motion, Commissioner P. to have second. Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The report is approved. I believe you have, what, 2 more items?
Yes, sir. Back in May, we presented we had a credit with Motorola, and we presented, and you voted on what was option 2. And during that period of time, our communication leader left and went to the state. We have a new communication coordinator now, and evaluating what we had there before we went out, we found out that there are some items that we needed desperately, and that we reevaluated our list. In front of you is the list of items that we need. For a majority of them goes to the Sheriff's Department with detention and several other things. As if you'll note, that FSO that we spoke about is still in there. We have gone, it'll be at least by December before we can get that person on board. And at the end of this, we will not owe any more money. We reevaluated, and this is the confirmed list that we've come to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, this comes back to us as a credit on those radios that we have figured that we don't need. One option would be to take the money and just put it in ending fund balance that Motorola would issue to us for that $400-something odd thousand, but that's not my recommendation. Mr. Chairman, the recommendation is let's take that credit that's coming and buy these other pieces of equipment that they say that they now need, and that should take care of us. I mean, that was an $18 million expenditure that this commission ponied up, and to make sure from our SO to EMA, EMS, teachers, principals, bus drivers, I think everybody went from an analog phone system to a digital phone system, which should take us further down the road. So I think this credit would be wisely spent in buying these additional pieces of equipment. It's my recommendation.
Commissioner Gurley.
Yes, can I get a clarification? We voted to go ahead and engage Motorola with a service person, engineer. Where does that stand, and where will that money shift and come from?
It's continuing in this contract. In this proposal, that FSO is still in this at the very end. It's still there. Last line.
That is for how many years there?
1.5.
1.5.
Yes, sir.
So that's your total of the $115,800,000. Am I correct?
That is correct. 115.
115,800.
800, yes, sir. and we will join in that technician. I believe we have the representative from Motorola here, but I believe that technician will work in conjunction with the city as well. Am I correct?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, that was the understanding when it was presented to us previously.
Yes, sir.
I thought that technician was going to go a bit longer than that, but, so we'll need to look at coming back and funding that position if we deem to keep it, say, a year from now.
We can reevaluate in next year's budget, yes, sir.
What's the committee's choice, or any more questions?
The APX Next portables, that's the next generation, am I
Yes, sir.
correct on that?
That is correct.
The ones that actually go back to FirstNet and so on and tie into that?
Yes, sir. It will tie into the internet, which will receive the information from what I've been told. We have Motorola representative, so we can go to remote places and we still have radio contact.
Assuming we have LTE.
Internet.
Right.
And that is what the state has gone to across the state, those type of radios.
This is what I understand that the state is going to.
Yes, sir.
In the process right now. Thank you.
Mr. Gammon?
Chairman, I've just got a question. Of course, I'm always a super supporter of public safety. I just got a question. This is what, 441,000?
439,000.
39. Now, in the original layout, so there's a credit coming back that we didn't use or something. Is that correct?
We had some surplus radios that were purchased, and we were returning them for items that we needed.
Okay.
And that's where this credit come from.
Okay.
Commissioner, I think there was a miscount on the original. I believe we might get Motorola to say that, but I think there was a miscount. Was there not, Chris?
Yeah, we had 130 mobile radios at the end of this, which it was miscount.
This is cleaning up and...
That's correct. We're going to send those 130 back, and this is what we get.
That's where I was going. I just kind of, where did we miss the buck at?
Right.
All right, very good.
Other questions?
We wanted to be very transparent and bring this to you again, and make sure that this committee is aware and also approve of something that you've already approved on before. So.
And might I say, Mr. Chairman, the person doing the counting is no longer with us, so it's nobody currently with us, all right? Thank you.
Commissioner?
Can I make one request? My eyes are 66 years old. Can we get this bigger next time?
Yes, sir, we can work on that.
They're young, Virgil.
Mine's distance.
If not any more questions, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Gurley makes a motion to approve. Second, Commissioner Gammon. Call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorley?
Yes.
And Chairman Reed.
Yes. All right. What else?
One more thing. So we were requesting to file an application for the 2021 Homeland Security Grant. This grant will allow our department to file this application. This is an annual grant that we get from Homeland Security, and it's 100% reimbursed.
Commissioner, the grants it's on your iPad.
Is this new money that's coming in through the COVID, or is this existing money we have?
No, this is Homeland Security. We file as a county to the federal government for items that is approved by the Homeland Security Committee, and it's unrelated to COVID.
Okay, but this has nothing to do with the bonus money and all that stuff,
That
right?
has nothing to do with that.
This is reoccurring. We see this every year, if I'm not
Yes, sir,
mistaken. So I'll make a motion to approve applying for the
Made
grant.
Commissioner P. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gurley. All those in favor of allowing the apply for the application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sir. Anything else? Thank you. All right, ambulance report. You're lonesome tonight.
Debbie and Denise, Melanie and Denise didn't have anything new to report, so. Right, on the ambulance side, the number of emergency calls we made were 3,312. Number of hospital transfers we did were 79. Total number of calls we had for the month of July was 3,391. We maintained a 6.8 response time. Number of deaths we had for the month of July were 69. 20 of those 69, the state reimbursed us $1,725. 25 of those 69 were sent for an autopsy. We paid $49,000 for those. Year-to-date is 25, and year-to-date on autopsies was $49,000. We billed $1,649,050. We've collected $869,639. Year-to-date is $169,639. Projected year collections are at $10,435,668. Collection rate's at 81%. Insurance write-offs was $573,701. Another write-offs at $193,703. Also on this, on our collections, before I forget it, I told you the last couple months that I'd been working with another vendor, and we came to an agreement. The mayor approved it, got all the I's and T's crossed from the county attorney, and we should be going with that in October. I believe within 2 years that I can reduce the dependability of the county by $2 million. That's my goal. I won't accept, though, I'm not promising. But that is, I believe it's reasonable, and I believe we can do that. Maybe even a little bit more. So we're excited, but it's going to take me 2 years before I see the full result of it.
Mr. Gurley?
Yes, I have a question. I just did a little math. Total bill, $1,649,000, et cetera. 81% collections. Total collections is roughly $870,000, but 81% of $1,649,000 is $1,300,000 and something thousand. Is there an explanation of something?
I'm bringing the explanation up.
In order to get the percent of collections, we take the total amount billed and we have to subtract the insurance write-offs. So when you take the 1.6 million and subtract the 573,000, that's the figure that is divided by the collections. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, thank you.
Okay.
You explained it a lot better than I could have. Okay. Flipping over to the convalescent side, we did 455 calls. Total bill was $368,536. Total collections is $115,173. Year-to-date collections is at $115,173. Projected yearly collections is at $1,382,076. Our collection rate's at 74%, at $213,438 in insurance write-offs, and other write-offs at $14,724. All right, flipping on through, we had I had 4 thank you letters from Blackman High School and another thank you letter from someone who was just expressing their gratitude towards EMS. And I personally wrote a thank you letter to or note to my staff, and so did Brent Carter. We participated in the rolling honors that came through Rutherford County, and we met them at the Embassy Suite. They had a little ceremony there, and then we escorted them to the county line on to the next county, and they were headed to Washington, D.C. And it was really a great honor to be a part of that. I also received a thank you note from one of our paramedics whose brother had passed away, and he was just sending out a thank you note to us. And also received a real nice card, and it was also, I was also asked to give it to this committee, and I've already given it to Chairman Breed. It was, we had transported Mac Nolan's mother, and she was very grateful and very kind, and Mac called me up and wanted to meet the 2 paramedics that had taken care of his mother, and we all met at my office, and it was really nice. And we're just really appreciative that things are going well for her. Melanie received a thank you from her neighbor. We've had calls there in the past, and they were just showing their gratitude and thanking us for helping them. And also, you'll see on the next page where 2 of my paramedics, Joel Qualls and Connor Patton, had picked up a patient experiencing chest pain, and obviously they had a serious block, and you can see the before and after treatments of that. And again, it just shows how well our paramedics are trained. I had 5 reports from Vanderbilt Life Flight on patients that we have flown out, and that's my report, sir.
Okay, sir. Any questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve. Commissioner P. Do I have a second? Second made by Commissioner Phillips. Any further questioning? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir. Fire and rescue. And the fire marshal comes forward.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I've got our July report for you. For the month of July, Rutherford County Fire Rescue responded to 7 structure fires, 5 vehicle fires, a total of 280 emergency medical calls for service. Among those, we had 29 vehicle accidents with injuries and 29 without injuries. Within that was also 3 extrications and 3 missing person searches. Year to date, we were looking at 51 structure fires, 42 vehicle fires, 27 brush fires, 1,937 emergency medical service calls for service. 211 of those were MVAs with injuries, and 209 without. We conducted 12 extrications among those numbers. We also had 17 searches for missing persons, and 19 water-related rescues or incidents. Total to date is 3,872 calls. On the next page, you'll find our year-to-date call volume for all departments, including the volunteer departments. The next page, you'll find the list that we send to the Rutherford County Codes Department for structures that were damaged by fire and may need building permits pulled. And following that will be our Fire Prevention and Safety Grant smoke alarm installations count for the month of July. The next page, you'll find our Fire Marshal's Office Fire and Arson Investigation Unit report, the cases that were investigated and the dispositions of those cases. And finally, our illegal burn report for the month of July. And that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Questions? Tell you what, gentlemen, I sure do dread next month, because on next month you're going to see a report coming out to 11795 Mount Pleasant Road, which happens to be my house. And that was due to the fact of a faulty fire alarm. And I ended up having Christiana, Eagleville, and the county all out there, but I happened to be in Murfreesboro. And I had my alarm company call me. They said, your alarm's going off, your fire alarm. And I said, I'm in Murfreesboro and there's nobody at that house. They said, do you want us to dispatch? Well, folks, I've got a post and beam house. It's just all wood. I said, yes, you dispatch, and I'll try to get somebody up there to try to stop you if there's nothing going on. Sheriff, I made it there about as quick as the fire department did from Murfreesboro out there. But when we get there and go inside, we go all over it. But I've never had that many firemen in my house in my life. But we didn't find anything, but we checked that fire alarm out, and it was a faulty alarm. But I knew exactly which alarm and all this sort of thing. But I had to tell those guys, I said, well, this is part of your training, and we was just checking you out to see how well you did. But it's very embarrassing to be the chairman of this committee, and that happens to you, but it happens to people all the time. And there was nothing else we could do. But I've just got to tell you how those guys come in there, and they did it all professionally. And in fact, one of your chiefs was standing there, and he's on the phone, said, we are waiting for the homeowner to get here to continue to go inside. And I said, that's my house. And I had to go inside to do that. But just so happened, that alarm waited. I'm waiting on the alarm company to come and work on that system. It did it again exactly a week later. And this time I said, no, you don't dispatch, because I mean, it numbered the alarm. And tomorrow they come and work on those alarms to make sure they're right. But this is something I'm sure y'all see all the time, but I don't like to see it. But I appreciate those guys doing that.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the extra practice.
Do what?
I said we appreciate the extra practice, sir.
Well, I don't want to give you extra practice. I really don't. I don't like it, because it didn't do my heart any good. I thought I was going to call Carl there for a while. So I didn't want to give the ambulance service any practice either.
That's right.
Do I have a motion to approve this report? Commissioner Phillips.
Second.
Have a second. Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Talked with Chief Farley this afternoon. He's doing well. He goes to the doctor, I think, Friday.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And he's hoping to be let loose some.
I'm sure he's hoping as soon as possible, but yes, sir, we're hoping to get him back soon.
I think the house is, being under house arrest is sort of rough for him, but he did
Yes,
real
sir.
well through the surgery, and it's working real well for him.
He's doing very well, so I'll
Pass
be
that
sure to
on to
relay
you.
your condolences. Thank you.
All right. I think you have radio system on here, but we've already basically covered that. Moving on to the Sheriff's Office report.
Y'all have the financials and employee reports if you have any questions about that.
Any questions on the report, gentlemen?
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve the report. Have a second. Second, Commissioner Gammon. All those in favor to approve the report, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. I believe you have a budget amendment.
I have two. I'll do the, I don't know how it's on the laptop or the iPad, but it's 122.
They're two separate budgets, I believe.
They are,
amendments.
so I have to take them.
All right, so we'll take them separately.
Just cleaning up some first of the year money that needs to be moved to make sure I make it through the year. And the first one would be in the drug fund. And it's just to adjust some line items to get us through the year. So I'll be decreasing money in two, which will equal $30,000, and increasing my maintenance and repair of vehicles, which is $30,000.
Any question upon this one?
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner P.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gurley. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Rather. Chairman Reed.
Yes. Motion carries.
Second amendment's to cover the sex offender registry. We have to pay TBI an administrative fee on what we get, and I'm going to take that from unassigned fund balance, and that will be put into our 599 account to pay TBI their fees when they're due, and it's usually quarterly is when we have to pay those.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve, Commissioner P. Second, Commissioner Gammon. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Rather.
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes. Thank you. I believe the sheriff are on the water lines. Okay, Mike, I believe you're... Gentlemen, I believe you have that on there, dealing with the city of Murfreesboro, is dealing with some water lines, that's dealing to the new construction out there on Highway 99 or New Salem, that water lines that will have to be moved for that construction. So Mike, our
Thank you, Chairman Reed. Commissioners, on your iPad you'll find a couple documents. The first one is a proposed city water line relocation on the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office property for a TDOT New Salem Highway widening project. So as part of TDOT's project, they're requiring the city of Murfreesboro to relocate a water line in front of the Sheriff's Office. And in doing so, they'll have to move it out from the right-of-way into the sheriff's property. But the question came up at property management on the July 22nd. Well, if they move this water line, will fire and domestic water service be cut off to the jail? So Valerie Smith, the assistant department head for the Water Resources Department, said she thought it would be about an hour, but we wanted to do some more research into that, and it was determined that it should come here to be discussed. So in the meantime, the city did some more research, and the second image the second map that you'll see is the Rutherford County map of a private fire line on the property. So there is a water line coming off of Salem Highway going to the sheriff's office, and it is a private fire line, and it loops around the building, goes into the building to run the sprinkler system, and then there's another leg that comes out on Malloy Lane. So it was determined that even though they'll shut off that leg that goes into down Detention Drive from New Salem, it still will have water service. So it's a non-issue. So they'll still have domestic and fire service, and even while they're swapping these lines out. So we just wanted to update you that it's going to be okay, and they're not going to be without fire and domestic service for a short period of time.
Okay, questions?
When you say domestic, are you talking about water fountains and things
Yes,
working?
sir. Drinking
and all
water.
that,
Yes, sir.
And
Flushing.
jail plumbing and all
Yes,
that
sir.
was still?
Yes,
so
sir.
it won't have to be reprimed or anything?
I don't believe so. It provides a continuous loop, so they will have to, shut the water off, shut at the line that comes off of New Salem. So they will have to sanitize it, clean it, while it's being reconnected and everything. So,
Well, I mean, that's something similar to this has occurred before at the building where we had to change a meter out and some other stuff due
Yes,
to
sir.
And when that happens, I mean, I'm sure that Chief Lowry back here knows that and everything, but they probably will have to reprime, so.
Yes, sir.
When that happens, so that's the biggest issue that happens.
Yes, sir. But we're feeling confident. I've asked the sheriff and Chief Lowry, Deputy Lowry, to check and make sure that all the valves are open on the fire line, so there's not break in the line. So when they do shut off the New Salem leg, they'll still have service coming off of Malloy. So they're going to do that.
Commissioner Rather?
So what if the ideal situation where all this is going to work, what if it doesn't? What's the backup?
Well,
if they shut those lines off, this one somehow doesn't flow in, what's the, I guess, worst case scenario, or what's plan B if they have no water?
Well,
let's assume the worst.
Yes, sir. Well, that's what I asked them to check to make sure all the valves are open on all legs coming in from Malloy, coming in from New Salem. So when they do cut off the New Salem leg, they'll still have water from the Malloy side. So they feel confident that they won't have an interruption. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Well, preparing for the worst.
Yes.
What would be the, I guess, plan C now?
Well, when we
have no water.
When the city didn't know that there was another private water line coming off Malloy, I proposed, could we do a jumper line? That's a temporary line from the New Salem into the private line going up Detention Drive. So that would provide temporary service, but they feel confident that they'll have enough pressure and volume coming off of the Malloy line. It's an 8-inch line that it provides domestic and fire protection.
Okay, I'm curious because that's a bad place to have water shut off.
Yes, sir. Well, the plan was to maybe do the break at 3 in the morning or some remote time during the middle of the night, so it wouldn't be that big of a interruption. But there was that question, well, fire could happen at any time, so we need to be prepared. But they feel confident that with the pressure and volume coming off Malloy will provide service. So.
Happened to be at property management tonight that this come up, and those were some of the things that were asked. Commissioner Rather, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I sort of felt sorry for the young lady that was up here that the city had sent, because all of a sudden these sort of things were coming bang, 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 just like that. And then the thing that come forward was the fact that, water cannot be shut off whatsoever to that facility. And I think that's what's brought about all of this study, all of this thing that's come around there. So it's been made aware to the city of the importance of what this water line is and what we have to do to provide it to make sure that water is not cut off, that this is a number one importance to what we got to do there. Sheriff? You don't come to the mic, Sheriff.
We're talking about looking at the valve system, but one of the other things that we're doing is to assure ourselves that we are going to have water. We got Murfreesboro Water calling them to come out and check our system just to make sure. One of the concerns that we've got, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I cannot have a situation where we don't have fire suppression at that facility. As Commissioner well knows, most of the things that happen is not going to be during the daytime. It's going to be at night. So that's why we're very concerned about this, and we're making sure that we're going to have water when they do their work on Salem. So,
Mr. Gurley?
Yeah, it sounds like it might be prudent to stage some, either Murfreesboro or county or combination thereof, of fire water supplies.
No, I agree. External fire suppression would be one of the things that we would need to look at, and the chief and I were talking about that just now. So
I figured you were on top of it.
We're going to make sure that we've got something there to take care of it. Of course, the biggest problem we've got is a high-rise like that. Then it's 100% we've got to have water to that building. And I don't think they're going to be doing it at 3 in the morning. So, of course, the other thing I've got is I've got to feed 653 inmates during the day, 3 meals a day. It takes water. So I just can't shut her down. So, but Mike and I have been in touch with each other. So,
Mike, do you have a date of any time when this will happen? Or?
No, sir, I don't. If you remember, we've been working on right-of-way acquisitions from TDOT for this leg of the project for, months and months now. So it could be several more months before they work on it. But I'll coordinate with the Murfreesboro Water Department to make sure that they keep us in tune of when this work's going to be done, so I can let the sheriff know.
This is another, I guess you say, leg of what they're doing with Highway 99 in New Salem, because once they finish what is done going to Cason Lane, they move back this way to do that work out there. So it just gets more interesting out that way, I guess is what only terminology you can put to that. So we're talking about a long time. That's one of the concerns I have there, is how do you get out of there with our cars and whatever. So that's a question too. Any more questions? We just thought it was important. This comes before you, and property management wanted this committee to hear it too. So that's why it's brought here. It was sent down from property management and the mayor. If not, we'll move on further. Okay, Sheriff, is that all that y'all have? Please.
We've got 653 inmates today. We've got 6 COVID cases confirmed in the detention facility. All are isolated. And we have never stopped on any intakes that we've got. We still isolate on any intake, and I think that's one of the things that has helped us keep the numbers down. I've got 1 confirmed case in personnel, although we've had several tested today. It seems like most of the problems that we've got right now are family members being tested positive, where our employee has been around them, so in precaution, and until they test free or we have a length of time between that, we're telling them to stay home. So one of the things we don't need is a outbreak at the jail, so we're being very cautious with that. So that's about it. That's kind of where we are right now. We've had, I guess, to say this, total since this has started in a jail facility, we've tested almost 4,000 cases. We've had 142 positives over this whole time frame, so pretty significant in terms of the population that we've had, because we turn over about 60 to 70 a day, so we're in and out all day long. So, anyway, that's my report.
Questions for the sheriff?
I don't have a question. I just want to compliment that, I mean, to have those numbers and only 6 cases, and that's how it's pretty much been, I think, you got to take your head off to what systems being used and the detection and everything else. I mean, to have a confined facility, let alone going into a hospital, emergency room or something, I mean, it's amazing there's not 100 in there with this, so.
I think our biggest problem is going to be what we're spraying with and everything else, but we're Cloroxing several times a day. So.
They've done a great job. I know when you go way back to the March of last year, and they've been working on it all this time. All of our areas within the county have been doing this, because I know I've been out there since March of last year, and I've seen what all you've done out there too, and been in there. And I've had my family ask me, said, "Aren't you a little concerned about walking out there?" Because I said, "You're 72 years old, and you're what?" I said, "No, I trust them in what they're doing, and I appreciate how you do it."
Surprisingly, we're probably one of the cleanest places in town right now.
Yeah. I go where I think it's safe, and one of the safest place to go is jail, I think, right now. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, pause. Mr. Gregory.
Good evening. The report for July, we had 538 animals come into the shelter. You can see down towards the bottom of the first page, we had a 4.8% euthanasia rate. Our live release rate for our dogs was 93.9%. Our cats were 94.1%. And overall, when you include the wildlife, of 91.9%. We had 185 animals that came in through our surgery programs, and 90 cats were released through the TNR program. You can see the number of calls that we handled for the month, where we completed out 1,900 calls, and the breakdown of the jurisdictions there, and the officers traveled 12,610 miles. The activity report, of course, goes by fiscal year. The rabies exposure and bite report goes by calendar year. You can see for the month of July, we had 42 bites. One of those was tested. It came back considered positive, but it was unsatisfactory. It was an animal that had, it was a dog that had been out, and it had deteriorated enough that they couldn't test that to get a satisfactory result. You can also see that we had 10 other exposures. None of those were sent for testing. And the last page of the report is just the graph, so visually you can see the live outcome versus euthanasia and other outcomes. And that is my report, sir.
All right, any questions on this one?
Move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve. Commissioner Phillips, have a second. Second, Commissioner Rather. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
OSHA? Mr. Elam. Thank you, sir.
OSHA report for the month of July 2021. You will see we had a total of 4 incidences or accidents, and Dan informed me in his 14 years that is an all-time low. The low before that was 5, and that was the month of April of 2020, when the county and the schools were closed. So very proud of that. I'm very proud of the work that the team's doing to get to that number, and we'll continue to work hard at that. The accident frequency for the calendar year to date is 93. Total recordable is 65. Restricted day claims is 28. Lost day claims is 16. Other recordables is 21. On the next page, on the on-the-job injury claims, you'll see that for 2021 was 93, 2020 was 82, and the year-to-date for 2019 was 145. Next page, on the job injury incurred dollars. Year to date, you will see $377,000. Again, that's just incurred dollars, that's not the actual cost of the claims. And your next page, you see the cause of injuries, where the total for the Board of Education was 2, total for County General was 2, and in the County General, there was 1 at the Sheriff's Office and 1 at EMS. That concludes my report.
Motion to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve the report. Commissioner P., do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Recovery Court.
Good evening. As you will see on your paper, we had 133 participants during the month of July. 9 people were placed in program, and we had a total of 5 people who graduated our program. Several of you, or several of the commissioners, attended the graduation for Veterans Court on August 11th. For those that were present, I know that you heard some heartwarming stories that show the success of our programming. We do have a recovery court graduation tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. It will be in the jury assembly room over at the Judicial Center. We did receive word this week. I know last month I talked to you about being approved for the state grant in conjunction with the Adult Detention Center. We did get a number confirmed from the state on that, I think late yesterday, of $49,922 were awarded. That will be used for additional hours and programming within the adult detention facility. Recovery Fest, I tell you every time I come up, is on September 18th from 10 to 2. We would love to have people come out and be present. It's going to have a lot of activities for people and just celebrating recovery both from mental illness and substance abuse. International Overdose Awareness Day is August 31st. I just want to bring that to your attention as well. And one thing that I talked to Lisa Nolan in Finance in regards to this month, she asked me a question of how many unique individuals we served during the fiscal year last year. And I gave her that number of 231, and she informed me that based upon her number crunching, which I think she's probably pretty good at, anything over 51 individuals in our court saves the government money. So we break even at 51, and we served 231 last year. So that is my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions on the report? Before we have approval on that, I want to just say something about the Veterans Court graduation. Gentlemen, those of you that were not there, you really missed something. And it was very impressive. The 5 stories that we heard there from these individuals, the stories about changed lives. If you get an opportunity to go to one of these, I please ask you to go. Because this is something that, you know, so many times we see these reports right here, but this is an opportunity to see success actually happening. I mean, really success. Because this was something we started several years ago, and when we started, we just had a very few employees involved in this, but now we've got something there that is a program that other counties are looking at and wanting to know how in the world we're doing this. I heard from Judge McFarland, and he said that he's had other counties call him and they're talking about, well, we're waiting on this grant, we're waiting on that grant and trying to get enough to do this and work with these people. Gentlemen, the county here is providing this money and getting this program out there and doing it. And it's working. It's taking people who have come out of military in situations where they spent their life in military, and when they come out, they don't know how to change their life, and they've gotten themselves into trouble and problems. And those of you back here in law enforcement have run into them, where it involves alcohol and drugs and things of this type, where we place them in this program, and they turn their lives around. I know we had an individual in there now. He's got his own construction business, and what he's doing is these individuals that have gotten into these programs, he's hiring them. He now himself has 5 employees and got his own business going, where prior to this program, he was going the other way, big time. And we had stories all the way through there of this, and it's just something you need to see of the success that we have in this. That's not the only program that we have going on over there either, and I think every time we have a graduation, you need to see that in the drug court and things of this type. We need to come over there, and you won't believe how these people appreciate you being there, because I had some of them come up to me and say, we can't believe y'all want to come and see us do this. And it's important that they feel that somebody out here supports them in what they're doing. It just carries it that much further. So I urge you, if you ever get the opportunity to make one of these, to do so. So now I'll take somebody's motion to approve the report, if we can. Commissioner Phillips?
Second.
Have the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, in other business, I believe we have 2 items that have come up on this besides the other that's there. One deals with the Gov 21 grant list. Mayor, do you want to take that one?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item you'll see under other business, I have met with 4 different departments. As you know, when we were putting the budget together this past year, I asked each department head to give me their needs budget and then give me their wants budget. And as we went through that process, starting in each committee, and in this case, it was starting in this committee before it goes to budget and then to the full commission. I asked them, knowing that we were going to get this Gov 21 grant, which we received after July 1, that we would be able to come back in and see if we could restore those requests. You'll see before you a list. The first one is the Oit Security Systems, which has 24 locations that has been identified to put in new card swipes for all of the locations, talking about our EMS, our EMA, those different locations, so there'll be new digital type equipment for $175,000. Then you'll see 3 requests from EMA. They're looking for a E250 4x4 with a topper on it, and then we'll have a slide in the back to where they can pull their equipment out. And they really don't have a vehicle at EMA to tow anything. The radio for 8,500 will go in there, and then they're looking for APCO software for EMA that will integrate with TEMA for disasters. You'll see 3 requests from Fire and Rescue. We've got 6 cardiac monitors, extrication tools, 3 sets, and a mobile radio for their new personnel that was left out of the last allocation with Motorola. You'll see with EMS, we're asking for a new ambulance. We had taken that out. It's $139,000. The power load system for $240,000. 6 Stryker cardiac monitors. 2 Cpr Compression Devices. They will be put at our most outlying areas, the furthest one, for somebody to do CPR coming in from Rockville or even Eagleville for that long a period of time. This is a mechanical device that will actually do the compression devices. 6 stair chairs. They wanted $21,000 to replace heat and air units as needed. They had one that the compressor went out over the weekend. Replace some exterior doors that are in bad repair, so they felt that once these new security systems with the door swipes go on, they might as well go ahead and replace the doors. And they're always needing roof replacement. Next year, I would like to, when it's coming to building maintenance, I would like in next year's budget, I'll be coming to you and asking you to remove the building maintenance and getting it over into our maintenance department to where they can start doing maintenance and let EMS take care of what they were hired to do as opposed to worrying about the maintenance. Also, I just got a price for a few moments ago when I stepped out for the Correctional Work Center. They were needing we took that out of their request. They were needing an F-150 4x4 crew cab so they don't have to take the trailer to pick up small bags of trash. Say somebody dumps it on the side of the road, it's an illegal dump. If it's small enough, they can get a couple of inmates, run out, throw the bags in the back of this pickup truck. Just got a price from Murfreesboro Ford a few moments ago for $35,000, which would include the light bar on top and the towing packages go on it. So we're looking at $1,264,000. If you take the $35,000 I just gave you on top of what you're looking at on your SharePoint, that's a total, what my request is tonight, $1,264,278 to restore these from the budget that we took it out of back in June. I will request a favorable motion, Mr. Chairman, so I can take this on the budget and then to the full commission.
All of this is COVID grant money.
It is in the new Gov 21 money. That is correct. Yes, sir. And there's a time limit on the Gov 21 money, and it all has to be spent by the end of June. There was, on the Gov 20 money, there wasn't as strict limitations, but there is on this limit, on this grant.
Moving forward to budget with an affirmative recommendation.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion made, Commissioner Phillips, second, Commissioner Gurley. Discussion?
Yeah, I've just got a question and maybe a little semi-statement. This is the money that was left over from last year?
No, sir. No, sir. This is a brand-new grant that was appropriated by the General Assembly back this spring, and it was not effective. That's why we had Gov 20 money from last year. That's how we did the renovation of the outside of the courthouse and other things. We used the Gov 20 money for the new fence at the Sheriff's Department, the new generator at the Sheriff's Department, the new floor at the Sheriff's Department, new floor at the workhouse, new roof at the Sheriff's Department. That's what that grant money was. So this grant money is new, Gov 21.
I guess my question, money that only could be strictly spent on equipment, or is it money that could be spent on bonuses?
It's not COVID-related money. It's for capital expenditures, my understanding.
Because I don't think I can bring anything up right now because it's not in the business situation. It's just that
I'm looking for
I'm not happy.
Well, I'm looking for the same funding as well, Commissioner.
I feel embarrassed and everything else, and it's not a pun at anybody, but I'm just going to say this. I know that all the years I've been in the business, I hadn't sat here until the last, 3 years or so, and I understand how tough it's been over the years, but I know since we had the jail since '98 when we did this big expansion there, and we went from having 4 or 5 state prisoners to 300 and 400 at that time. Well, basically, you can look at it since '98 to now, no matter how you look at it, whether you brought in $3 million a year, $4 million, I know at one time we brought $5 million a year in. After 22, 23 years, that's $80-something million. And my question here is, and I'm talking about the future, not criticizing the past, not judging the past, but out of this money, I know it will go straight back in the budget if I'm correct. If I'm not, I apologize. But why can't we set aside a small amount, every budget year that has to do with public safety, with the ambulance service and the sheriff's office, but that means that's probably going to cause a tax increase, I'm sure. But then we could look at that. Even if you put aside $750,000 since '98, that'd be $25 million to play on just from the sheriff's board bill money. I don't remember, I should know how much money a year the ambulance brings in, but I know it's got to be $8 or $9 million, I believe. And since they've done the same thing, if you look at their numbers, you know, they're probably even higher than the sheriff's office board bill. And I'm just saying, we should set aside some money, even if it's $500,000, $750,000, you know, that's not as big a bite, but that money could be used for public safety, but could also be used, you know, for a bonus or whatever else. Now, it doesn't fix anything right now, no. I'm just talking about the public safety money that comes in for board bills and that, and that's, you know, I just wish we would look closer at it. Judge, I'm just throwing an idea out there.
You make a good point, Commissioner, and of course, this is my third year. When I got here, I discovered there were a lot of things that, there were a lot of deferred maintenance issues. I mean, when we got that new roof on, we had a price of well over $100,000 to put a new roof on. How long has that roof been leaking? It was leaking before you left. I don't think there's been a leak since we got the new roof put on, and we got it done for less than $100,000, you know, because there's new technology out there, and people are not working to find new alternatives of how to save money so we can turn around and give money. But this commission has stepped up and just through the grace of God, we've been able to get some grant money available, and we're wisely spending it to defer, taking care of those deferred maintenance issues.
What does a penny bring in now?
$1 million.
Okay, well, I mean, you got, either way you look at it, it's 1 cent.
Yes, sir.
That we're looking at.
First time back in June, for the first time, we finally went over $1 million, what a penny brings in.
So if you set $1 million aside, that's 1 penny.
Yes, sir.
So that's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've heard this request.
I have one question from the mayor. This is only a portion of the Gov 21 money, or
that is correct.
Okay, so this is a portion of the Gov 21 money that we are going to reinstate these items from various public safety agencies.
That's correct.
That were omitted from the budget.
Yeah, when I went trying to hold the budget in line, I asked them to go back and cut some of those things out, knowing that this grant would be coming based on what we were seeing, the activity we were seeing in the General Assembly back in April and May.
So this is money not coming out of Rutherford County taxpayer per se. It's coming out of the legislature. It's coming out of, it's our taxes, but it's coming
correct.
through the legislature.
Yeah, in a convoluted
People look
way.
at it around
we're paying
that
for it. Yes, sir, we're paying for it, but it's not coming out. We're
Not
getting
on
this money
property
without a
tax.
tax increase, property tax increase.
I move to approve.
Got a motion to approve.
Already had a motion.
Got a motion. All right, call the roll.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorley?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes. All right, we have one more item which deals with a license agreement for the State Farm building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got this late this afternoon. Some of you may have heard I had a meeting last Monday. I called together all department heads. We had all the mayors from the respective cities within Rutherford County. We had their city managers. We had directors of Stonecrest, the director of St. Thomas Rutherford, all trying to figure out where we were, what was the COVID landscape as we were moving forward. We knew it was coming faster. It was similar to the meeting that we had a little over a year ago in March of 20. Just to give us an update, we had LaShannon Matthews Dixon, excuse me, from the Health Department, along with Dr. McDonald, who gave us a report, tried to give us an update on how employees would be handled this year if they go out on COVID, sick leave, etc. So we felt like that this surge was continuing to increase. We felt there was a need to go back to State Farm. If you recall back and probably, I know it was cold when we went out there, Chris, January, February, when I went to State Farm, I had to go to Illinois and then to Dallas to work out an agreement to allow us to use that facility to have the drive-through vaccination lines all established. This year, we feel like we're going to be doing more testing, especially because the Delta variant is hitting more students, and Mr. Spurlock and the superintendent of the city schools also stated that they won't, once these children go home, they probably won't allow them to come back into the school system until they've been tested, so we're going to be more testing. So that caused me, they asked me to reach out to State Farm again, which I have before you, a lease agreement that they sent to me late this afternoon. It's a lease agreement for $0 that will allow us back into that building to start using their old drive-through collision facility. We can set up and establish there and start the testing. And you see at the bottom, they just struck out the date January 7th and put in August 26th. Just need to get that ratified so I can get this sent back to State Farm in Dallas, and we can start moving some stuff out there and preparing, Chris and the health department will start preparing to take care of our citizens.
Motion approved. Commissioner Phillips. Second. Commissioner Sereno.
Quick question.
Mr. P.
At the bottom of this, it mentions approval by the Board of Commissioners. Are we going to have a special call meeting to have this approved by the board?
I'm going to take one step at a time. I think that in their haste, they just printed this off and sent it to us. I'm going to go back and ask them if we can go in and start moving some stuff in, and to just wait until the second week of September to our full board meeting, just to ratify the action of this committee tonight.
Good. That'll save us some money there. So.
Yeah, I didn't want to call a special meeting just for that.
Okay. Other questions? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Move that on then to get started in that. You see, gentlemen, on your agenda there that I had placed in there, other business, it says premium pay, and what that premium pay refers back to, the American Rescue Plan Act, and I promised some of you commissioners that I would place that in there. It goes back to the motion that was made at the last commission meeting dealing with providing some funding to individuals that were involved in the COVID situation. You know, it's hard to say we're involved because we have never gotten out of it. It started March of 13 or 16 of last year, and it continues today, and it's continuing to get a little bit more each and every day. So we're involved in this right now, but I gave to you tonight, each of you, a letter there is from Jason Mumpower, who's the Comptroller of Tennessee, which explains premium pay, and I want you to see that where that money does come about. And I do want you to look at that. The interim final rule states that the premium pay is for the essential workers in critical infrastructure sectors who regularly perform in-person work, interact with others at work, or physically handle items handled by others. Critical sectors include healthcare, education, child care, transportation, sanitation, grocery and food production, public health and safety, among others. It should be noted that the chief executive officer, city or county mayor, may designate other essential workers in critical sections within the general guidelines listed in point 1 above. And this gives you some idea of what that section is there, and that's coming from the Comptroller of Tennessee. Also, there will be further ruling as far as how these monies are to finally come to us in September, and I think the Comptroller is going to be here tomorrow, I believe, to finalize some of this tomorrow afternoon.
We'll be meeting tomorrow afternoon, yes.
Tomorrow afternoon, so some of us are going to sit in on that too. But I just wanted to give you that to let you know exactly how that is worded. It doesn't designate one particular group. There's a line of groups, and I have to say this. At the beginning, when we got this all the way back in May and prior to May, when we found out these monies were going to be made available to cities and counties, we got this Reader's Digest version of that 156-page version. I don't know how many of you sitting here read the 156-page version. How many of you actually read that version? I did. I know the mayor did, and several of you did. And it was sort of like whenever, I don't know how many of you, whenever you've gone through that closing on your house and how thick that was. It was either whatever the big print gave you, the fine print took it away. Well, as we have worked through this on some of the things we've tried to put in this, we find something each week that it takes away. And that's what's happened in some of these things, that when we'll bring forward, then all of a sudden it's gone. It comes back saying, no, you can't do this. And we're finding that all the time. So tomorrow we're going to find out some things you can do and can't do, and possibly by September we'll get the final on everything you can do. So I'm just telling you this to let you know that nothing is final as far as the American CARES money is concerned. There's not just yet when it comes down to it. So I'm just telling you up front, but I know some of you said you wanted to discuss that motion tonight, and I know the original motion was made by Commissioner Gurley. So I'm going to let him start first. He's already raised his hand, so Commissioner.
Yes. Well, most of you know that my heart's in public safety, having spent 27 years in pretty much all aspects of it. 2 state agencies and 2 county agencies. This event that happened west of here in Waverly, Tennessee, brought back memories this weekend. I called and talked to some cousins that are down there to make sure they were okay. But 43 years ago, we thought we had an event in Waverly that the town would never see anything like it again, and that was the propane tank car explosion that I was heavily involved with. I lost co-workers, friends in that. But the death toll from this recent event is well exceeded and probably climbing all the time. Our public safety people face a lot of things that other people don't. That's not to say other people aren't as deserving. And I think in general, most of us know that government doesn't pay what private industry pays. I can tell you that firsthand because I spent 15 years with 2 Fortune 500 corporations, in addition to the time I spent in public safety. So I can compare the two, and I know the difference. But I do think that here in Rutherford County, we're falling behind in being able to keep people. And we need to do something to show our public safety employees that we really do appreciate them and that we want them to stay with us. Well, this item here that from Comptroller Mumpower details quite a bit of things that we can spend the money on. I think it's pretty conclusive that public safety is one of them, and hopefully we'll get some further clarification tomorrow and in the coming days as the feds put out their final ruling here in about roughly a month. And but assuming that goes well, I proposed providing bonuses for our public safety personnel. I brought this up at our meeting to approve the 2021-2022 budget in June. And I fully stated there that the intent was to allow budget and anyone else that wanted to study that to take a look at it. And I said, I will be back at the August meeting. I was back. I made a motion. It wasn't totally well received. One of the things was the fact that I had bypassed committee. Well, we're back in committee tonight. This is it. It starts right here. This is committee. It'll go from whatever we decide to budget, and we have chairman of our budget committee on this committee, so he will know in advance what's coming to him. But I really think there are two things. One is I would like to see a bonus given to our public safety employees, and I'd like to see part of that bonus given to them by the end of the year. I saw something, and I could be wrong, but I thought that it looks like maybe the governor is giving teachers another $1,000 possibly to be paid at the end of the year. That story is floating around on the news today. So that be whatever it is. One of the bigger things is that we need to implement an improved pay plan for public safety. That means we need to not just guess about it. We need to hire someone to do a study and really see where we stand, both with regard to other public safety agencies and the periphery, and also with other, because we're losing to both. We're losing to other public safety agencies, and we're losing to other businesses. And so I'd like to come out of here with two things. One is for us to agree on sending on to budget a $1,000 bonus to be paid by the end of the year to our public safety employees. Those are yet to be defined, but I think it's pretty obvious based on this what those people, who those people could be. And the other thing that I would like to come out of here with is a commitment to do a pay study, bring it back to us, and then to budget, to be seriously considered in the 2022-2023 budget process. It'll take some time. It needs to be done. It needs to be done right. And so that we can bring our public safety people up, and we're not losing them to other agencies. And that's pretty much all I have to say right now. I won't make a motion, but I'll just let other members of the committee speak.
Mr. Gammons?
There's no doubt I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Gurley, and I'm not going to get into all the years I've been here, 38 just to mention, but 20 of those I was executive level when we dealt with these budgets. We dealt with the pay plans. And again, without giving all the whole story, we did the exact very thing in 95. We did an awesome, a company came in. Matter of fact, the job descriptions we use every day for this county came from that study. It may have been added to some, but that company is the one that put that together. Again, we had a good pay plan, but also it put aside and said, okay, here's public safety. Okay, here's other people who are there. It was like 50-something levels of people all across the county. It included dispatchers, detention, clerks, all this type of stuff. But it paid them on the description from that job of what their daily requirements were. And one of the things they did, they sat down with shifts and things and took the time. It took a lot of hours. They said, what do you do every day? What do you do every other day? Other than going to the bathroom, what do you do? And I mean, it was pages and pages of stuff from every department. This is how they came up with it. And it lasted about 3 years. Said it once, said it 100 times. We don't keep it because we're afraid that, well, where we're going to get the money. Well, I brought up a minute ago where you can get it in the future, but also we killed it. We didn't stick with it. It changed or froze. Then we started having, and I'm not criticizing anybody in HR, they do a fine job, but we started having people that I don't consider on that level paid to come in and advise to do this type of pay plan. That's not a staffing analysis. It's not any of that thing. It's not how many people you got. It's strictly numbers to do, well, what kind of job do you do? And it's going to have to be done by a professional. And whether it's accepted by the commission or not, it's going to be the truth. But it's going to tell you what you got to stick with. And I know all the years I was there, and people now, no matter where you work, ambulance or fire or sheriff's office and other places, they can't tell you from 3 to 5 years what you're going to be making. People want to know that. They want to have the faith, and that's the problem we're running into now. Not stepping on anybody's toes, but they're tired of that carrot out there. They're getting tired of it, and we're losing people, I'm telling you. But I got to say, when Cannon County can pay more than we can, there's a problem somewhere. I'm just telling you. And it's a lot smaller county. I don't think it's grown hardly at all. I bet there, what is it, 20,000 people there? But they still have the same tax base we do. They pay just as much in property tax as we do, I guarantee, because of the dollars they have come in. There's a difference. So I'm 100%, we got to do something. We got to do it right. The only thing I'm going to disagree with Mr. Gurley on is I think they ought to get every dime that they deserve before the end of the year, if it's somehow to do it. And I know the mayor's working on that. I know he is. But we got to do something. We're fixing to push these people and ask them to go back into the fire again. And the fire ain't went out yet. But it's fixing to get hotter. And I know from, like I said, talking to my daughter-in-law and other people and teachers, they're exhausted. These boys and girls, the men and women are exhausted. And they need to have a little faith. That's all it needs. You know, I mean, I had a person ask me one time, where's loyalty? Well, where's loyalty? In that sense. They were asking our people one time, where's their loyalty? I said, that went away buku plans ago. It doesn't mean they don't care. There's not an officer out here, fireman or anybody, that won't risk their life. Even somebody they hated, they're going to risk their life to save them. They will. And we keep telling them, and I know everybody here is faithfully believe and all that, but we keep asking them and asking them and asking them. Payback.
Mr. Rather.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would hate to be the two of you and Rachel up there, because when we talk, we're talking towards you, and apparently things are pretty passionate, and mine is too. I'm not yelling at y'all. You're the chair. I'm just trying to make a case here. I sat and read some of these. Well, I read all of them. The notes from that Director Hudgens got, and they were from high schoolers. I think the majority of them, if not all of them. The word hero came up 2 or 3 times in those letters. And kids, I don't want to say kids, young adults, teenagers, are realizing. One girl says, I know y'all have a new operations method now because of COVID, but yet you put your lives out there anyway. Not just because of the virus, but other threats, and you're doing it for them. One girl says, you save our moms and our dads and our daughters. These are what these people do, and we all know that. I'm preaching to the choir. I know. But I have to say what I have to say. Mr. Gammon brought up Cannon County. Cannon County, pretty much you can go and make the same thing our deputies make. I think we can agree on that. Here's the difference. 6 weeks ago, maybe 7, 15-year-old girl disappeared in my district. Disappeared. One phone call got made, and the cavalry showed up. Detectives off duty, came in off-duty, deputies, EMA. They had drones, they had the dogs. Within 5 hours, that girl got brought home safely, securely. Those deputies got paid the same as Cannon County, and I'm not picking on Cannon County. I know a detective in Cannon County. I went to high school with him. He's a good guy now. But we're getting paid. Our deputies are getting paid. Let me just say public service. We're on the same level as other counties that can only provide less of a service. Our guys, Mayor, you keep bringing up the gold standard. We have the gold standard. And you just brought up some money that I voted for because I understand. I've owned business, ran businesses, have a house, have a barn. If you don't take care of what you have, you're not going to have very long. And I would submit to all of us, if we don't take care of who we have, which in my firm opinion, that nobody's going to change, we already have the gold standard in public safety. If we don't take care of who we have, we're not going to have them. We're dropping numbers daily. Highway Patrol's dropping numbers. Hospitals are now dropping doctors and nurses. They say, I quit, I give up. We are a growing county that we all agree with you, Mayor, and I'm not beating you up. We do want to be the gold standard. We want to be the shining star in the state of Tennessee because we're capable of that. We can do that. We're geographically centered in the state. We should be the gold star for the state of Tennessee. We can do that. We already have folks who are in that category, but we are going to lose them. We have to find a way. A penny's $1 million. I sat in here and y'all entertain me for a minute. I sat with several of us were here, Solid Waste Regional Solid Waste Board, when they were talking about the landfill. A lot of people don't want that landfill, but I sat there and listened to one person after another talk about, we are willing, and we're talking about taxpayers, we are willing to pay a little more money to recycle, to come up with another solution to get rid of 30-something counties coming into this county to dump their trash, or how many ever it is, and the stench and everything else. And I agree because I smell it too all the time. They're willing. The citizens of this county, and I care less about an election year coming up, but the citizens of this county in 2021, we're not just talking about a virus, we're talking about violent crimes going up every day. Every time you turn on the news, look and see what you see. And it happens here in Murfreesboro too. If we don't have a community where the community feels safe, well, that may be the answer to our growth, because they won't move here anymore. Because we don't have people to work here to take care of us. It's not safe, and so they move on to Cannon County, and they grow. Coffee County, which is already growing, Bedford County, they move somewhere else. The bottom line is, I think of everything I've said, yes, if we don't take care of what we have, we won't have it long. If we don't take care of who we have, we won't have them very long. And I make the motion that this committee votes, and I guess it goes to budget. I don't know the process, whether it's RFPs RFQs, you get qualifications first, then proposals later, but get a pay study done. Instead of all of us trying to figure out what the pay scale should be, and then the budget committee does the same thing, and 21 commissioners does the same thing, I would make the motion that, let me back up. Commissioner Gurley recommended $1,000 by the end of the year, bonus. Is that gross or net?
That is correct, and a pay study.
Gross or net? Gross pay or net?
Gross.
Okay. He didn't want to make the motion. I'm going to make the motion. Then I'm going to make another one. That we pay public safety, or all employees, public safety.
I'm talking about public safety.
All right, $1,000 by the end of the year, gross pay. I will make that motion that we send this, it has to go through budget, correct? That we send this to budget to pay the county employees $1,000 bonus, gross, by the end of the year.
Did you include a pay study in that motion?
That was my first motion. I ain't got to the second one yet.
The $1,000 bonus does not include a pay study.
I was going to separate it.
Fine. I'll second
I
it.
can do both, but I'm afraid somebody's going to want to separate that.
I will second that
Better have them
then.
separate motions, if I would
Yes.
think, because
I think
on
it'd be
the other one, you're going to have to come up with a method to fund that.
Yeah, I just seconded the $1,000 bonus.
Okay, you have a motion, there's a second, it's open for discussion. He's made a motion to do a $1,000 gross bonus, but you haven't said who to? What does public safety include?
What does it include?
That's a good question. That's one that we have thrown out for the past week, I believe, exactly. Because it does have a group that you have to go through, because when we talk about public safety here, you've got a category of different ones here. And there are individuals in that deal with different things too. So I think when it comes to budget will want to know that as well as, what we're talking about. And then I think there is a universal definition of public safety that includes certain individuals as well there too. So, that's something that, you're talking about defining. That's something that has to be defined too, I believe, when we're talking about this.
That's a great question.
That's a generalized statement. I'm just saying it's generalized.
I think it's a great question because that's one of the things that I think we should do is to define public safety. I don't want to be the one to define it. I think this committee defines it. I can say it's EMA, EMS, and Sheriff's Office, but then somebody else may say it ought to include this and this. I think we define it, and then go from there. My motion brought up another issue that has been brought up over the last several weeks.
That's what all this does. It brings up one more issue.
What is public safety?
That's what I'm saying. I just don't know which one, because when we look at public safety and we throw it out there and look at this, it includes probation, it includes correctional, it includes juvenile, it includes the sheriff's office, it includes PAWS, it includes recovery court, it includes all of those.
I think you'll find public safety fairly well defined in the fair labor laws. There's certain things that public safety people that in that.
But under the American Rescue Plan is different than what's in labor laws, so it depends on, does this committee want to direct or send a recommendation to budget of where to take the money from? or ending fund balance, that's one of your options, to take it out of this money. There's another option. It's, it's COVID related, but I think it's, you got dispatch, you got pause. They put on bulletproof vests too. They fall into that category.
Commissioner?
But they may have to repay it.
They may have to repay it. That's the thing we're looking at. We already know where in Davidson County, they have paid money and they're asking for it back. We don't want to do that, and we want to make sure we're right when we do it. That's what I'm saying. We want to get this from umpire exactly what we can do and can't do, and we want to be right, because I don't want to ask any guy sitting out here, hey, I need your money back.
I think that
we're going to be right. I totally understand you. I see what you're saying there, but that's what I'm saying is we got to have a proper motion when you send it over there to budget. You got the chairman sitting here. What does he want? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but right. I just know for the past several months we've been dealing with like these buildings or whatever, and every time I turn around, no, that won't work. And I just know what we got to make sure we're right, and I want you to be right if we're going to do this.
That's why we really hadn't seen anything out of budget, because the rules kept changing. We've been following this money, and we've spent the money where we know that we can spend it legally. Where we haven't spent it is because we don't know. It's like these bonuses. If you remember the talks that we had, even during the last day where we set our budget, we said there's more money coming. As soon as we can determine how much money it is and what we can spend it on, we would like very much to help our employees that work so hard during this COVID situation. And to me, yes, if I was calling public safety, it'd be EMA, EMS, fire, Sheriff's Department, but I'm going to keep adding. There's not a department here that worked, that was dealing with the public, that did not put their tail out there and expose themselves for this county, for their job, unless they were working remotely. And most of them were not working remotely. To me, it would only be fair to offer, if we're going to give bonuses to all these folks that we're seeing front line. I mean, our trash people at our convenience centers, they see more people in a day than, most people, and they're dealing with the public, and they're one-on-one a lot of times, and people, they brush right up against them. But here's what my point is. I'd like to see how much money we got before we just start throwing, well, let's give them $1,000. We may be able to give more than that. But I want to know how many people it's going to entail. I want to know how much it's going to cost, and I want to know where it's coming from. And I want to make sure that it's not going to increase my taxes here or go against our budget practices that we've set over the years. That's why we've waited. Now, if you recall again, I'm the one last fall that brought up we need to give increases to our public safety people. And I was specifically talking about the Sheriff's Department and fire. That's not, and our ambulance. Those three are, our main, to me, those are our main frontline people that are, where the rubber hits the road there. And one thing that we found, and there has been studies done, that I kind of object to just throwing out, we want to spend money on a study. Sonia Stevenson has done these studies. We've got a detailed amount. If you want to come sit in on some of our budget meetings, you can very well hear them. But At the time, last year, and we actually started it too late, and I'll blame that back on me, but we were looking at maybe even an 8% increase for those individuals in fire, public safety, well, let's just say public safety. And we found that when we dug into it, we were going to end up doing a tax increase. We weren't ready to commit. There weren't votes out there to get a tax increase for that, from what I was seeing. But having said that, that's not something, even if it's an election year coming up here, that I'm wanting to dodge. I still believe we need to give these people pay increases. But I want to know how much. I want to know how many people this is going to entail as far as the bonus goes. But I don't want to stop at a bonus. I want to look at pay increases to bring us up to a level so we're not going to have people that are wanting to leave for whatever reason. I've not been paid to be a public safety individual, but I've been a volunteer firefighter for years, and I'm telling you, you do it, and you do those jobs because you love doing it. And I guarantee you're not going to be a firefighter, and you're not going to be a policeman long if you don't love what you're doing, because it's too daggum dangerous. And, you put one of those masks on and go in a burning building, you have something fall on you, and I'm telling you, there's not many people going to go back in there unless they just love what they're doing. And these people love what they're doing, but I want them to be well compensated. Personally, again, I want to wait till we throw out bonuses, till we see what money we've got. That's the same thing I told you in June. I want to wait and see what these people have got. Yes, I know there may be some people frustrated at the departments, but let me point out a couple things. We gave a 5.75% pay increase this year. We gave a 4.25% pay increase last year. We gave a 1.75% increase the year before, and that's when we were tanking. And the year before that, we gave a 3.75% increase. That's 15.5% increase in the last 4 years. Now, on top of that, we've had some firefighters that have their pays changed. I forget how many that are and how much that involved, but I think that was around 4%. But we also had many people in public safety reclassed, and that gave a lot of them up to a 14% pay increase. So I'm here to tell you that we are looking out for these people, and we're trying to do the best we can. And I want to continue doing that. And I'm not against, whatever motion you want to come out of here and send a budget, bring it on, and we'll look at it. I think if you wanted to bring Ms. Stevenson up, and she's not ready tonight. I know I wasn't ready to talk about this tonight. I've got more numbers we can show you. But I called her, and I asked her to have those numbers ready for me for public safety when we meet next in a couple of weeks. So we'll have more information then as far as how many people would be involved. If you don't have a motion about who's going to be getting a proposed bonus, if that's what you want to call it, how many people that would be, who they would be, how much it would be, we can see the options. Is it going to be 100 people? Is it going to be 2,000 people or 3,000 people? How much it's going to be and how much it's going to cost. We'll have that information, I hope, available for our budget meeting coming up. So that's where I'm sitting at, until you can say, okay, Robert, we're going to send you we want a $2,000 bonus for everybody that was a frontline worker or public safety, and that only is going to be Sheriff's Department and fire and EMS. Okay? If that's what you want to do, y'all send it. And we'll deal with it when it gets there. But I'm trying to tell you, in my opinion, all these people were frontline workers there, and I don't think it's right to give bonuses to part of them when everybody was putting their life out there, because nobody knew what this virus was going to do to them. They still don't. We know what I thought, and there's my thoughts.
That's why I asked you, Commissioner. And I'm not trying to step in the middle or whatever, but But the motion right now is $1,000 bonus to public safety employees before the end of the year. And I just know when it goes before that budget, you just heard what they're going to ask. They need to know how many, they need to know who, they need to know what, and this sort of thing. And I've been before them. You know, the first time I ever asked anything about our public safety buildings, and I heard from this corner right over here, how are you going to pay for them? And then here we had to go about working about that, and then we had to go back and forth on all of this. So, I mean, it's a difficult task when you got to go through all the other committees, and then if we don't have this motion in an order where you present it, where, you know, you got everything, you got every I dotted and every T crossed, somebody's going to step in there and take it away from you. And that's what I'm saying. I'm totally for every one of these employees. I know exactly what they're doing, what they're going through right there, and I understand it. I've spent nights up here as we dealt with this situation. I've sat here and listened and seen exactly what's going in this. But I'm just telling you, for us to do what you're talking about doing there, we got to be right in how we do it. There's a proper way to follow this. And what I was saying here a while ago, we've got Manpower coming here tomorrow to tell us more about the usage of this. September is the official time. They tell us exactly how the money, we'll have these finals there, and then we meet again at the end of September. I'm just wondering, should we develop this motion where, you know what we're doing and how we're going from there? That's just a suggestion, but...
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Gammon, and then we'll go back to Commissioner Rapp.
Hello?
There you go. Just speak into it.
Save me again, Commissioner. What I'm saying is, I'll just repeat that I don't at all disagree with Commissioner P. You know, he's in that position. He's been here a long time, and he's trying to use some wisdom. And I just want people to know, and there's no doubt. And again, like Commissioner Rather said, I am not fussing in any way at people that I deeply respect, and I'm just fussing. And we're all frustrated, I think, in some form. But if there is this meeting, as said, then, we're bound to have to wait just a little bit. I'm not talking about the December. I agree 100%. Before the end of the year, we got to do something. I done said, I'm forgiving everything we can, not just $1,000. So with that in mind, we really need to back up a little bit and not etched it in stone yet, but do it in September or somewhere in there where we have plenty of time to work on this thing and challenge Miss Nolan and Sonia to do a lot of homework and come down on this in committee process. But, and again, like tonight, I think it's coming up that we're going to vote on pushing for a pay plan, and I still think it needs to be done professionally, nothing against anybody. But I think we need an outside entity involved in this. Now, they can work with Ms. Stevenson, obviously, but we need some professionals to come in, just as, here, like we did that time. It was a great study. Now, I don't know how much it'll cost, but I don't think it's that much. But I will say, I think maybe we need to back up a little bit.
I will withdraw my second, which effectively kills the motion, I believe, unless there's another second, on the $1,000 bonus, and let that ride until September. I understand that we have a meeting. In the meantime, I'll get you some definitions of public safety. If there's questions about what's public safety, I think we can clear that up. I would like to replace that. What I do think is important to come out of here tonight is that I'd like to make a motion that we fund a public safety pay study done by an outside consultant.
Okay, you've made a motion, but now, I had given the floor after he spoke to Commissioner Rather. So I've got to hear from Commissioner Rather.
Well, I didn't withdraw my motion yet. Did you kill my motion? Mr. Chairman, I'm 3 years into this. I've sat and listened to motions and seconds and amendments and back and forth to where we're all confused. Even commissioners that have been doing this almost as long as Commissioner Phillips even got confused. So I apologize if I didn't do it appropriately, but I do say that one thing I wanted to come out of that discussion was, what is public safety? And in my mind, it's sheriff's office, and that includes dispatchers. Because let me tell you something. I'd rather put that uniform on than sit in front of a dispatch mic or a headphone or whatever. That's I wouldn't do that job for anything. So I think about sheriff's office, EMS, and the fire department. I do withdraw my motion, but at least it brought some discussion up. I understand there's some further meetings coming that we can kind of move forward with that in the very near future. I think this has been brought up in the years past before I came along, and it's still dragging on. And enough's enough. And I just want to do all I can to kind of push that. And I appreciate the fact that this commission has given increases. But when you go from $2 a gallon to almost $4 a gallon, and the cost of milk is more than a gallon of gas, and your insurance is going up, and the coverage is getting less, deductibles are going up, and you got to weigh it all. You can't just say I gave 5% increase because you may give in a 1.5 when you look at the other cost of that family. But anyway, I'll withdraw my motion, and you made another motion, right?
Ed, do you want to second it?
Yes.
Because it's exactly in what you were talking about.
I second it.
Okay. Okay, we got the motion that's been made by Commissioner Gurley, and a second there to do the study or to find the way to do that study. I think both of you gentlemen are directly on the path we need to go. I myself, like I said, I've worked out here in the private sector for so many years, and I do know that every time I had something added to my salary as such, that kept accumulating 44 years, and at the end it made a difference. And I think that's very important how we do that. A time or two I did get a bonus or whatever, and for some reason that bonus went pretty quick after I got it, and then you took, but I do know the accumulation is important there, and what we had to do there. We made the statement about Munpower's going to be here tomorrow. He's going to be over at North Boulevard Church Christ at 3 o'clock. And I know the commissioners have been invited. You should have gotten an email on this, I was thinking. If not, gentlemen, if you're available at 3 o'clock tomorrow and you want to come in and hear his statement on some of this and what we've got, you're welcome to come. But I was thinking commissioners have been invited. If not, if you're available, you're welcome to come. I think I know one commissioner will probably be there. Sure, and I'd like to see as many of you in public safety, because since you're discussing this, you might want to be there. But you're totally right as far as this definition, as far as public safety is concerned, because I think I've talked to about 6 or 7 people today, and I've gotten a different, who, what, when, or where. And that's why I brought it up, Commissioner, is that, I'm getting different people everywhere. And but you've got that, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just sent a text to Ms. Stevenson. She's in the back, and what she sent me was a study, salary study, complete salary study. The city of Murfreesboro did one about 5 years ago, we're looking at somewhere at that time between $90,000 and $100,000 to do a complete salary study for our whole general fund employees. It wouldn't get over into the Department of Education. But hopefully tomorrow we can find out and kind of drill down, because when you read out what you did on the interim final rule, states that the premium pay is for essential workers in critical infrastructure sectors who regularly perform in-person work, interact with others, or physically handle items handled by others. It doesn't classify any different department. It just says what essential workers are. And then down under item 2, it says the city or county mayor may designate other essential workers in critical sectors within the general guidelines listed in point 1 above. Well, I'm just going to tell you that for 16 years in the state senate, you can go downstairs and look on my wall and you can find the support that I've given to public safety officers, from plaques I've got from the TBI, from the Police Association, Fire Chiefs Association, on and on and on, that I have supported public safety. However, I do feel that we have other essential employees that, when you take this to budget, need to be considered. Chairman talked about, or it was mentioned, I think Chairman P mentioned our part-time people, even at the convenience centers. Downstairs in Tab Beatty's office, they didn't work from home right in the middle of this crisis. People had to pay their taxes, and they walked in, had mask up. We got the plexiglass and put around their desk. If Tab Beatty's office had closed, we wouldn't have money to pay any of the bills, because it's so important. It's been a difficult year. There's not, and I made the comment at the last full commission meeting, there's not one county commissioner, including myself, I'm not a commissioner, used to be, but there's not one person in this room that doesn't want to support our employees. And so I had Sonia 2 weeks ago tell me a gross number, give me a gross number of what it would cost if we went in at $2,000 gross. That way we could give each employee in a general fund $2,000. When she came back, by the time you figure in all the FICA, unemployment, everything else, the bill per person was about $4,200 per person, and you multiply that out. So that all needs to be taken into consideration. Most people, I haven't verified, but I will tomorrow. I'll call Murfreesboro and Smyrna to find out, was there net or gross? I think that question's been asked. I think Mayor Reed told me that they just gave a flat check. They didn't even deposit it into their employees' account. All those things need to be considered. I don't vote. All I can do is make recommendations and help guide you. You have two options of where to get the money from. Take it from this grant that came from the Department of Treasury, or you can go ending fund balance, because it was not appropriated. Those bonuses were not appropriated in this year's budget that you all approved back on June the 30th. So keep that in mind, and then let's break it down as to who qualifies, Commissioner, who belongs in public safety, if you're part-time, and then also keep in mind you need to determine, when did you come to work? That needs to be figured in. So somebody who came to work the second week of March when COVID started compared to somebody that came in 6 months later, is it fair to pay them the same amount that somebody's been there 6 months longer during the COVID process? So all those factors need to be put together as we decide how much we want to give. But I think we're headed in the right direction. We're going to take care of the people and set that gold standard, Commissioner. That's where we need to be. And we're doing everything that we possibly can to get us there.
Okay, we have a motion now. Mr. P?
I dislike paying somebody outside to come in here and tell me our business and how we should do it. And I've voted time and again against studies. They just leave a bad taste in my mouth. The last one that I'll bring up was the study, called it Middle Point 2.0. And how much was it we spent, mayors?
I think we called it quits after 250,000. They wanted more.
No, it won a second round because it passed twice. So I'm going to say probably $500 million on a study.
I think it was a city build on the second offering.
Okay, but at any rate, I mean, here's what I would suggest, and I'll actually make a motion to amend this motion that's out here, is let's have Ms. Stevenson come to our next public safety meeting and talk to us and give us the options, show us the pay plan that we've got out here now and what the ranges are for other agencies around us, whether it's Cannon County or whatever. I'll personally tell you straight up, I want to be in there with the highest paid group, so we're not losing people because of money or, equivalent with them. We don't have to be the top, but we're darn sure not going to be the bottom, and I don't want to be an average payer. And I think that's what came out in the past. Somewhere in the past, it was decided we would pay average pay. Well, I think we need to pay more than that, and I think we'll have to retain people. I think everybody's finding that out, whether you're flipping hamburgers, pumping gas, or you're a banker. Everybody's pay scales has changed. But anyway, I would make a motion that we have Ms. Stevenson come to our next public safety meeting and show us a possible pay plan, what she's got, and we can decide from there if we want to make an outside or have an outside agency come in and do it. So that's my motion, is to amend this.
You amending?
That's an amendment.
We have a motion to amend the original motion, and it has been seconded. Further discussion?
Could we have the amendment read, so I didn't quite hear it all?
Okay. Have the motion.
He just wants the amendment.
Give us the amendment.
Amended motion was to have Ms. Stevenson show us a possible public safety pay plan against other agencies we're paying before we get an outside consultant.
That's his amendment.
That's the amended motion.
That what you?
Yes, that is the amendment. I mean, close enough. I mean, basically, I want her to come and talk to us and explain where we're at in the pay plan and what our options are, and then we can decide from there, hey, we want to get an outside agency to look at it. But I think we need more information before we go forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject, the reason I seconded that, I remember back in the mid-1990s when we did that, our HR department was in its infancy back at that time and really did not have the expertise that this HR department has. And I think they've done an excellent job in keeping us up with different salary structures. And they also have a lot of resources available to us this day and time that we did not have back in then, CTASC and other entities that we can get information from. So I'd like, once again, to hear from our HR department as to what they do when they do a salary survey of some sort, so that we may not need to spend that money if we're getting the exact same thing or even a better option from our HR department. That's the reason that I seconded that motion, because I do remember us going through those situations back in the mid-1990s to late 1990s, and our HR department did not have the ability or the resources to give us the information that the HR department has to do this day and time. So that's the reason that I seconded that.
Mr. Cameron.
Not dragging on, I'm going to say I concur, Commissioner, you are correct. And if I offended anybody, I do apologize deeply, because I know they do a great job and everything, and I didn't mean any inadequacy in that, but we had just started HR, I believe, if that's the truth, and not that experienced yet, but they are now.
All right, we have the motion to amend. Call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes. Okay, we've passed the motion to amend. Now we'll vote on the full motion. Do you want that read back, or do you understand what that motion is?
In effect, that amendment will delay this motion until after we hear from
That's what it will
HR
do.
Director Stevenson next month.
That's right.
Thank you.
So we're basically just delaying that motion. Commissioner Rath?
I want to say one last thing. I want to sit down and be quiet. I just want to echo what I think Commissioner Gammon and probably Commissioner Gurley, we all feel. We're looking at y'all getting pretty excited, let's say. It's not against y'all. I'm just very, very so proud of what we have in this county that is diminishing. And I look at the guys back here in those uniforms. They get in the car every night, they put that badge on every night, and they do not know if they're coming back home. Yes, there are convenience center attendants. I know a couple of them out in my area. They might not come back home either, but the odds are they're going to leave. They don't know from call to call. And I'm just very, very passionate, and I just feel like this Rutherford County could do so much more, and they deserve so much more, and that's, don't anybody in here take it personal, because it's not personal against any one person. It is personal to me, because I think we all want the same thing. I just want to keep saying it because I want to keep it alive.
I feel like, as far as your motion is concerned, Commissioner Gurley, we can't delay that motion to the next month. We'd almost have to lay that motion on the table, take it up next time. I just don't think it can be just left laying out here. I mean, we've amended it.
If we label it or table it, it dies, right? So if
you can bring it back up.
We back up with my second in his motion.
I don't think the amendment does anything to the motion. The motion is to go through, submit to look at implementing a pay study by someone professionally. I don't see that having Sonia come in here next month or at our full commission meeting in the coming month and presenting information to us does away with that motion. It may give us additional information. Otherwise, I would have voted no on the amendment. So I don't see that as canceling.
I just don't think we can delay that motion, though. I just don't think it just sits here.
Why does can the motion not be passed tonight?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say right here.
Okay.
I mean, it's somebody's feeling that it can. And I just don't think you can sit here. It still has to be, that motion still has to go forward.
Yeah, well, the motion's been made and seconding.
And what we're basically saying by the amendment right here is the motion's been made, but we will have Sonia to come in first, and then we'll move on from there. Is that?
That's correct.
But the motion's still alive.
Yeah, we're not confused on it.
Okay. I just want everybody to understand what we're going to do.
If we vote yes on the motion, Mr. Chairman, if we vote yes on the original motion, are we committing to do that?
The motion, it would be the motion as amended, and the amendment is going to have us listen to Sonia before we do anything else.
On that motion.
Yeah, but the original motion is still alive with the information about doing the study. It'll travel to budget. Budget can either say yes or no, and then it has to go to the full commission.
Right. So I don't see that the original motion is, once we vote on the original motion, if it passes, is still there. We're just going to get some additional information between now and whenever we decide to, if we decide to go out to bid on this. Maybe we've got that professional information right within our own HR department, possibly, after we listen to that. I urge you to vote for the motion.
It's your motion.
Keep the pay study moving forward one way or the other.
My question dealt with the if that Commissioner Gurley just said. If we go yes, vote yes, this goes forward regardless of what we hear from
That's correct.
HR Director Sonia Stevenson next week. I can't do that.
Okay, then you vote no.
I can't vote for this without hearing information from our HR Director and making a decision at that time.
So then you vote no, and you, on the motion as amended, if that's what you're saying, you vote no, and you see where it lies. If it passes 4-3, then it travels on to budget. And budget will take it up and based on the recommendation. Otherwise, you start all over again with another motion, but all those would have to be withdrawn.
Mr. Chairman, my intention with that amendment was to not have this carried forward until after this committee meets with Ms. Stevenson and we look at it, and after we get the information from her, then we would make a recommendation whether to do this pay study or not. So to me, the amendment, Jeff, is not what you're thinking. I understand. I'd say no too if it meant this was going to carry on. But to me, my amendment is that we won't do anything until after this committee meets with Ms. Stevenson at our next meeting. That's the way it is.
We didn't put a timeline in our motion. We did not put a timeline in our motion. We didn't say it had to be done by the...
That's correct.
We did not put a timeline in our motion, only that we would take that motion forward.
And it could be October.
I agreed with
it could
Commissioner
be October,
P's
November.
amendment.
You're going to
and
hear from her first. You'll hear from her first based on the amendment.
Right.
That's what the amendment was about.
Commissioner P and I are in agreement on that.
Yeah, but you're still voting to keep your motion alive.
Yes.
Just send it forward to do a pay study.
Just send it forward.
But a yes vote on this, just so I'm clarifying for myself, and I think I think we're all in agreement. We're just having trouble seeing around what we're saying is basically this will go forward, but it will only go forward after this committee meets with Ms. Stevenson, and we'll make a decision after that to forward it to budget.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's what a yes would be.
The original motion was to conduct a study.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And the amendment was not to do it, not to forward it until we heard from our HR director and got a report from her. So if we pass the original amended motion, we hear from HR Director Stevenson next month.
That's correct.
And some of us don't want to to forward because we think that she and her department can do the job, will this go ahead and forward it anyway? Yes or no?
No, it won't. It'll stay right here. That motion will stay right here in this committee until you hear from her next month.
That's why.
Everybody understand that?
Are we all clear? Everybody's okay with that, okay? All right. Call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorley?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Chairman Reed?
Yes. Okay. Any other discussion?
I'm going to have to bring this up. There's been a lot of talk about everybody loving and supporting our public safety workers. And if you guys will recall, last fall, when the United States, or certain states in the United States, was going to hell in a bushel basket and defunding police, this commission stood up with a resolution in support of our public safety, in particular our law enforcement officers. And it was a united vote. So that's where not only this local government stands, but the commission stands and each one of us stand. There is absolutely, positively no doubt about that. The increase in compensation was voted on by this committee several months ago to increase their pay by 8%. I think that was cut in half with the promise of doing the other half within the next year or so. So I think that's coming. So there are some things that out there that are extremely positive as it relates to compensation. I need to know, when this thing comes back up next month, who we're talking about. I want to know who we're talking about as far as bonuses. Who? If it's in public safety, who? Like the Sheriff's Department or EMTs, ambulance, whoever. I want to know who, I want to know how many, and I want to know an approximation of the cost. How in the world can I be expected to vote for something that I don't know how many, I don't know how much, and I can't forward anything on the budget without having better information. I understand the motion and I understand the thought behind it, but there needs to be more thought put into that motion, and it needs to be better explained to this commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips. That's it exactly, and what we're trying to do here, and I think that's what will come out of this committee when we're finished with this, and the way we go that. I just ask that you please do not bring any more motions like this, that you push Robert's Rules of Order all the way to who knows where. But we appreciate you, and I think everybody can see that this group does want to do this, and I just think this commission will do that too. Any other business should come before this body? Not, we are adjourned.